Welcome back with a smiling face. Links to previous episodes are given in the video description, so don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video. The Orphaned Secrets. Episode 4. Chapter 23. Griffin's POV. "She's your what?" both of my parents screamed at the top of their lungs. After practically being cornered by them, I decided that I couldn't wait for Richard to arrive home to explain things. I took my parents into my father's study and closed the door to speak to them in private. The last thing I wanted was to put Xandra on the spot with them. Things with her were already complicated enough. I didn't need to add my parents interrogating her on top of everything else. "She's my second chance," I repeated to them. "Hold on, hold on, hold on," my dad said, waving his hands in the air at me. "Second chance? As in a second chance, mate?" "For the millionth time, yes," I exclaimed. "Second chances aren't abnormal. Why are you two freaking out over this?" "Sweetheart, you had a son with your first mate who rejected you via a handwritten note in a shady hotel. It's been over 2 years since that happened. Finding a second chance so long after your first rarely happens, if ever. That's why people take a chosen mate," my mother explained. "I know that, Mom, but she is. I know she is." I felt it the moment I laid my eyes on her. It felt like my heart was going to jump out of my chest at her beauty, and havoc was going nuts when she walked into Alpha Jasper's office at Blue Lake. "Griffin, son, I don't understand. If she's your second, why does it seem like she's rejecting your bond with her?" my father asked. "She's not," I answered and paused a moment. She doesn't know how to handle the fact that I have a son already. She didn't have a normal childhood and only recently found out about mates from Sarin. "What do you mean, she didn't have a normal childhood?" my mother asked cautiously. "This is why I wanted to wait until Richard came back." "Son, what is it? Is there something wrong with her? Is she ill?" "No, Dad, it's nothing like that," I replied. I paused again, trying to figure out a way to explain things to them without overstepping. "You two know about the Luna's story, right? How she was raised as a slave by Blood Moon?" They both nodded. "Why wouldn't they know? Our entire species knew what happened to her after it all came to light with the fall of Blood Moon. Xandra and her twin sister Alexa had it a lot worse, and from the day they were born." "Oh, my goddess," my mother gasped. My father's eyes held nothing but anger and disbelief. "Is that why she's apprehensive about the bond?" "That, among a few other reasons. Angeline, we can't force this. If this young lady is his second chance, then this is a very delicate situation," my father said to my mom. "Oh, that poor Chi, wait, the other girl. Her sister, Alexa, is it?" I nodded. "Is she Brent's mate? Is that why they're together right now?" "Yes, it is." "What about them? Did she accept him?" "Not yet, from what I know. Even Alexa is fighting her bond because she feels that she has to protect Xandra from all the evils of the world," I answered. "Those poor girls' parents. They must think their children are dead, when in fact, they're alive and well," my mother said, sounding troubled. "Do we know where they came from? Who their parents are? We have to tell them that we have them and that they're safe." My mother was frantic. "Mom, Mom," I called to her and grabbed her shoulders gently to calm her down. "We don't know where they came from or who their parents are, not yet at least. But, Richard is going to do what he can to figure it out. The girls are part of our family now. Even if they choose to reject me and Brent, we owe it to them to find their family," I assured her. Yes, yes, of course, my mother replied. I hated that I wasn't able to tell them the full truth about Xandra and Alexa's real identities. I had no choice but to withhold the truth, even from my own parents, in order to keep them safe for the interim. I only had to keep up the charades until Richard was back. The announcement that I would be the next alpha was his job, and I wouldn't take that right from him. My mind began to drift and I found myself wondering how it was going at Blue Lake now that the girls were no longer there. Levi's POV. Smack. Where are they? He screamed in my face, but I didn't have an answer. After the meeting ended, the boss went directly to the room where I caught a glimpse of Project Gemini last night to confirm my findings. But for some reason or another, they were nowhere to be seen when he went to check. I don't know, boss. They were there last night, I answered with my head down. I honestly wished I could kill him already, but I needed the twins just as much as he did, if not more. There was no room for error. If I inged this up now, it would ruin the plan for what we were really after. All I had to do was successfully deliver the girls to the buyer Bane and I secretly arranged and we could get rid of Archimedes for good. You're so worthless. What spot do I pay you for? He blasted me. All this planning, ruined because of your incompetence. It's not my fault. They were there. Weren't you the one who pushed the Alphas and Lunas B.Uttons last night? I wouldn't be surprised if they knew who you were from the very beginning. Don't blame your idiocy on me, Levi. You had one job, and that was to make friends with the Beta and Gamma of this pack. Distract them long enough so I could see Gemini with my own eyes. I needed them to trust me so they would leave willingly. But now they're nowhere to be found. All because you lost them. Me? Had you not pissed off an entire room full of werewolves, this never would have happened. I was cut off mid-sentence as he grabbed me by the throat and lifted me into the air. Have you forgotten who you're speaking to? He snarled. His eyes turned black and I watched as his teeth elongated. I am a goddamn werewolf. We are territorial, and aggressive by nature. I don't have to play by their rules because I don't answer to their elders. I answer to no one, especially the likes of you, he said through gritted teeth. I felt my vision going black as he cut off my airway. I could kill you right this instant, and blame it on another wolf, however, fortunately for you, I still need you, he warned. He eventually released his grip and I collapsed onto the floor. I started to cough as I gasped for air, desperately trying to fill my lungs with oxygen. Find them and do it before the end of tomorrow. We will not leave until we know exactly where they are. Yes, boss, I replied through fits of coughing. And don't forget to take your potion. Your human stench is starting to make an appearance. He tossed another potion bottle at me which landed right by my hands. I was grateful it didn't shatter on the floor since I was still on all fours trying to catch my breath. Later that evening, I headed towards the castle grounds to see if I could do some recon on Gemini's whereabouts. They had to be here somewhere. There was no way they already left because someone would have seen them. As I was making my way around the perimeter of the castle, I saw a group of younger individuals huddled around a bench near a maze. What do you mean Brent left already? A girl asked. That's what I heard from Hugo, another replied. Kelsey, calm down. He probably had to go back to his pack for whatever reasons. It's not like we're never going to see him again, a boy mentioned. Vic, it's not fair. We haven't seen Brent in over a year and the one time we get to spend a weekend with him, he leaves less than 24 hours later. What gives? Kelsey is right, Victor. Brent is one of us, and he always will be. It's not cool that he just took off without saying bye to any of us, another boy said. Justin, I get it, but he's one of the head warriors of his pack now. If he gets called back, he gets called back. Ugh, this s.ux. I was hoping he would find his mate here, another girl whined and crossed her arms. He's the only one out of our group that doesn't have one. Speaking of mates, Justin, where is yours? The boy named Victor asked. Tasha was supposed to be back from London by now, but she had one final fashion show she wanted to work on. It was something that would make her career, so she didn't want to miss out. Sorry guys. I can't believe that you're mated to the Gamma's younger sister. That's got to be awkward for you and Jason, the girl named Kelsey pointed out. Gamma Jason literally tried to kill me when I grabbed his sister and straight up humped her on the wall of the rec room. The alpha literally had to throw him off of me. I don't think I've ever been so scared. The group broke out into laughter as another young girl ran quickly towards them. You guys! You guys! You guys! Whoa, Nat, where's the fire? Victor asked her. The girls. What girls? They all asked in unison. Those blonde girls. You know, the ones that Sarin befriended and kept hidden in the west wing of the castle. You mean Alexa and Xandra? Justin asked. Yeah. What about them? Inquired the girl whose name was still a mystery. They're gone. What do you mean they're gone? All of them exclaimed. I overheard the ranked members talking about it, and they said something along the lines of Sarin leaving and taking them to another pack. Something about whoever was after them had found them here. Natalie, are you positive that's what you heard? The unknown girl asked. Of course I'm sure, Lisa. I wouldn't have dropped my baby off at the nursery and full-on sprinted here if I wasn't absolutely positive. Wait, where did they go? And why did Sarin go with them? Victor asked. How spot should I know? When did they leave? Justin asked. This morning. During the Alpha meeting. Natalie, when did Brent leave? Victor asked. This morning. I watched as they all looked at each other in confusion. Who was this Brent they were speaking of, and what did he have to do with Project Gemini? At least I found out who Gemini was with, but the question was where? You don't think, Kelsey started to say before Victor held up his hand to her. He turned his head towards my direction and I quickly hid behind the wall I was next to. What is it, Victor? I heard Justin ask him. Could I have been made? Let's take this back to my place. Too many ears out in the open. We promised we would keep Alexa and Xandra safe. We can't talk about them out here like this. Let's go. I heard their footsteps as they left. When the coast was clear, I started to rack my brain. Project Gemini was no longer on the premises. It wasn't that they were just gone from their room, they left the territory. The boss wasn't going to like this. The worst part, I had no idea who Spot Brent was or which pack he came from. How the hell were we supposed to retrieve Project Gemini now? I couldn't go back to the boss with this information, he would kill me. I thought long and hard for a minute and realized I would have to get close to this group of young adults before we left. The problem, unfortunately, was that they already knew. The Alpha already had a target on our heads and knew we weren't friendly. This was the boss' fault. He allowed his pride and ignorance to get the best of him, just as I predicted. Now we were completely inged. No one trusted us. It was then I realized that I had been played by the Beta and Gamma of Blue Lake. They also knew the girls were being moved and kept me preoccupied with entertaining me with false information that would give out any clues. We were too late from the moment we stepped foot on this land. There was no way in hell that anyone from this pack, or any of the other packs, would trust us. We had to leave before we were caught or worse, killed. The boss may be a strong wolf to me, a human, but he would be no match for a pack of this magnitude. I hate werewolves. Archimedes POV. Levi was imbecile. I knew bringing humans into my operation was a bad idea, but it was the only way to prevent myself from being caught. Trafficking the supernatural was never my intent, let alone my own kind. I did it once because I needed the money, but once I got a taste and realized how easy it was for someone in my seat of power to conduct such business under the radar, I gave my life to it. My pack has no idea what I do, and it wouldn't matter. Because anyone that finds out is either trafficked or killed. Being a small pack from Canada had its many perks, having a base of operations in the middle of nowhere, away from the pack house, made things even easier. I knew it was a risky business, being an alpha that trafficked the supernatural, but that's why I brought in the humans. A scapegoat, if you will, if I were ever to be found out. I still couldn't believe that I had Project Gemini within my grasp, only for them to be hidden away somewhere within this Jinnermouse pack. I would never find them in time, let alone figure out a way to gain their trust to come with me. Or convince that young mutt of an alpha to hand them over willingly. I knew that he didn't believe my story about the girls being runaways. He would have handed them over without proof or needing verification. And that other alpha, Richard, I think his name was, he was no better. Sticking his nose in where it didn't belong. And don't get me started on that old fart, Jonah. Elders. Always getting involved in a business that has nothing to do with them. For this exact reason, the packs in Canada rose against the elders. They're weak and can't fight for their tails, the whole lot of them slow, stupid, and senile. Elders in Canada have no say in pack business the way they do here in Amkelina. They know better. They know they would be slaughtered if they tried to dictate our packs. There is no loyalty to the elders of Canada, and they know it. Marvin. I looked up from where I had stared off into the trees to see Xavier walking towards me. What do you want, hence? I did what you asked. I got you an invite to Blue Lake for the Alphas meeting. Your point being? I asked snobbishly, even though I knew exactly what had prompted him to say this. I upheld my end of the deal. You told me if I got you to Blue Lake, you would tell me who you sold Jennifer to. Tisk tisk tisk, Xavier. You heard incorrectly. I said if you got me here and I got what I came for, I would give you the buyer of your precious Jennifer, or J, as the other prisoners like to call her. But I don't have what I want yet, so you don't get to know that information. You sick? Where is my daughter? He roared whilst grabbing me by the throat and pinning me against the tree. Now, Xavier. If you kill me, you will never see your precious Jennifer ever again, I croaked out as he strangled me. I should kill you. I should kill you for what you've done. How do I even know my baby is still alive? You don't. I gave him an evil smirk as I watched him succumb to an internal battle with himself. After a few seconds of personal deliberation, he released me. I stood straight up and fixed my collar. Xavier, I would watch that temper of yours. If you ever want to see Jennifer again, you will continue to help me until I get what I want. And what is it that you want, Marvin? He gritted his teeth. That's for me to know, and for you to never find out, I replied and walked away, laughing. Stupid fool. Xavier's POV. I wanted to rip his despicable head off. My wolf, Zeus, was consumed by blood and on the verge of coming to the surface to kill him, but I held him back. As much as we both wanted to see him dead, he was the only one who knew where my daughter was. Jennifer, my precious baby girl he kidnapped over 20 years ago. I didn't want to help him get here, truly. But he gave me no choice when he approached my wife and me 2 weeks ago on our territory. We didn't believe him at first when he introduced himself as the man who had our baby girl kidnapped at 2 years old. That all changed once he showed us pictures of her as she grew up, held captive in a cage her entire life. I knew I had no choice but to do what he asked if I wanted to get her back. When he revealed that she had already been sold, I wanted to kill him, but his life was spared when he told me he knew who had her because he kept records of all his sales. I had to give in to his demands and get him to Blue Lake. Luckily, this year's Alpha's meeting was going to be at Blue Lake, so it worked out. He was able to come here, participate, make a few allies, and get what he came for, and in exchange, I would receive the information as to the whereabouts of my baby girl. But it didn't work. Whatever happened between yesterday and now, whatever or whoever he was after was no longer here. I had to put an end to this madness, but I needed to find Jennifer first. Alpha Xavier. I looked up to see an unfamiliar face. Who are you? My name is Lorenzo Rossi, and you have some explaining to do, he said as Alpha's Jasper and Richard came up from behind him. Richard. Xavier, what have you done? Chapter 24. Jasper's POV. I couldn't believe what we just overheard. It was sheer luck that we were passing by and heard someone roar. Imagine our surprise when we saw Xavier holding Marvin by the throat, and how Marvin seemed completely unfazed by it all. It only further confirmed our suspicions that Xavier was not actually a friend of Marvin's, or should I say, Marvin was not a friend to Xavier. Thankfully enough, William was with us and we had just explained to Richard who and what he was, and why he was so invested in Sarin, Sam, and the twins. Richard didn't seem too surprised by the facts provided, and all it seemed to do was make him more comfortable with everything. Given that Richard was going to be an elder soon, I was skeptical about telling him, but he's been nothing but supportive and helpful ever since the day I found Sarin at Blood Moon. I have great respect for him. William heard the entire conversation between Xavier and Marvin and related to Richard and me. We watched as Marvin left after taunting Xavier and we made ourselves known to him, but William interrupted by introducing himself first using his alias. When Xavier saw Richard and me behind him, he nearly SH'd himself. Richard, Xavier's voice faltered and trembled. Xavier, what have you done? Richard asked. I didn't. I had no choice. Who is Jennifer? I asked, even though I knew the answer. Xavier's eyes filled to the brim with tears, and his body was shaking. You could see the turmoil in his eyes. Jennifer is my daughter. She was kidnapped when she was 2 years old, 20 years ago. And you believe Marvin to be the kidnapper? Richard asked. I know he is. He admitted it to me and Heidi 2 weeks ago. He approached our territory and told us who he was. We didn't believe him at first, because we thought that after nearly 2 decades, Jennifer was dead. But when he showed us photos of her growing up and one as recent as a few months ago, we knew he was telling the truth. He told us that if I helped him get to Blue Lake, he would tell me who he sold her to, Xavier explained. Sold her to? We all asked in unison. Yes. Marvin is a trafficker. That disgrace of a wolf traffics our own kind, and others to make a profit. Alpha, we were right. He's the one after the twins. We were right to send the Luna away with them. I need to get to Olivia, and we need to go to protect them. William said to me. I nodded my head and he left. Twins? What does Marvin have to do with any twins? And why is your Luna involved in all of this? Xavier asked, confused. Xavier, tell me, was Jennifer a special wolf? I asked him. His eyes widened. Jasper, how did you? If Marvin is the trafficker I think he is, then he's the same one that was trafficking Alexa and Xandra. But they escaped and landed here at Blue Lake. That's why he wanted me to lead him here. You have 2 of his captives, Xavier responded. Where are they? If you give them to him, he will tell me where Jennifer is, he exclaimed, grabbing my shoulders tightly. Xavier, calm yourself, Richard said as he put his hand on his shoulder. He quickly shrugged it off and shook me. Jasper, please. Give those 2 girls back to Marvin. Don't you understand, all he wants is them. Then I can have my baby girl back. Please, Jasper, I beg of you. Alpha to Alpha, give back those 2 girls to Marvin, he begged me and fell to his knees. I need my little girl. Please, Jasper. Please. Xavier, I can't do that. His eyes flashed black and he jumped to his feet and pushed me against the tree. Why? Why not? This is my baby we're talking about. You're nothing to those 2 girls, they're lone wolves that stumbled upon your land. Stop taking in street wolves and give them back to who they rightfully belong to. You have a son, would you not do whatever it took to get him back? Xavier, take your hands off of me. I said and shoved him away. This has nothing to do with my son or getting your daughter back. I can't give them back to Marvin because they're not here. What do you mean they're not here? You said that They're not here because they went back to Golden Moon, Richard spoke up. I looked at him, shocked that he would give that information to Xavier knowing full well he was in alliance with Marvin. What? Why are they with your pack, Richard? Xavier asked him. They're with their mates. What? Xavier, listen to me. Those girls are the future Luna and Beta of my pack, Richard told him, which only made Xavier even more confused. My friend, I'm stepping down by the end of this weekend and will be transferring my power to Griffin. He has already chosen his Beta, and that's Brent. The girls in question are their respectful mates, and I will not allow any harm to come to them. But Richard, my Jennifer, Xavier said with tears in his eyes again. I have to get her back. And we will. I need you to trust us, Xavier. Do not trust Marvin. There is no guarantee that he would give up Jennifer's location to you, even if we were to hand over Alexa and Xandra to him. I need you to go back to Black Moon and wait for my call, Richard said to him. I can't. I promised Heidi I wouldn't come back until I found Jennifer. Xavier, there is nothing you can do at this point. If Marvin asks, you lie to him. Lie straight through your teeth because we will get Jennifer back, but we have to do it the right way. We cannot sacrifice a future Luna and Beta female for one wolf. We will do this carefully and meticulously, and we will get everyone back to where they belong, Richard explained as he tried to assuage Xavier's fears. How? What do you have planned? Unfortunately, we cannot divulge that information, I answered. Xavier, you're in an alliance with Marvin for personal reasons and, because of that, we can't provide any details on what is going to happen. We need you to stand by and keep him busy, do not tell him where the girls are. Lorenzo and his mate, Olivia, will be there to protect them at all costs. This means if he or his goons show up to take the girls by force, they will kill him on sight. And we will never know where Jennifer and the other trafficked supernaturals are. Do you understand? Xavier was visibly stunned by my words, but after a few minutes, he finally agreed. Jasper, why did you ask me if Jennifer was special? He asked me. Because if Marvin is who I think he is, he only deals with rare and special individuals, I responded. Tell us, what made Jennifer so special? Xavier paused a moment and contemplated if he should tell us or not. Jennifer is a jade wolf. What? Richard and I both shouted. Wait, how could anyone know that? You said she was only 2 when she was taken, Richard said. When Jennifer was born, she was born in her wolf form. As a pup. Richard and I looked at each other, completely dumbfounded. I had never heard of a werewolf being born as an actual pup. When we asked the elders how that happened, the first thing they wanted to examine was her eyes. They were silver and green, one of the many characteristics of being the jade wolf. Jade wolves are known to exclusively have that eye color plus the ability to shift as infants. They don't have to wait until they become of age. Her being born as a wolf was another giveaway. We tried to keep it on the down low, knowing that she could be a target. We were right. 2 years after her birth, we were attacked by a group of unknown wolves and human hunters. Unknown wolves? You mean they weren't rogues? I asked and he just shook his head. Whoever they were trained and worked as a team. They were a pack, but not one I had ever seen or smelled before. The hunters took out some of our best men. We thought their target was surely me, or Heidi, but it was Jennifer. In the heat of the battle, the entire enemy force ceased their attack suddenly and quickly retreated. We thought they gave up, or that maybe they got Heidi. But when she came running out towards me, we knew something wasn't right. The nursery was attacked, the guards in charge of keeping all of our young safe were slaughtered. Jennifer was the only pup taken. All of the others were spared. Xavier elaborated. Hold on, Richard said. Xavier, I've been to your pack house. The nursery used during battle was hidden within the walls. It is literally not visible to the n.8 eye. Only someone with internal knowledge of the pack house schematics would know where it is, Xavier finished. He looked at us, his expression full of anger and hurt. Oh! Someone in your pack gave up the location, didn't they? I asked and he nodded. Xavier, who was it? Richard asked. It was Elder Scott. Why does that name sound familiar? I asked. He's the elder that turned a blind eye to the abuse your Luna endured, he answered. You said this was 20 years ago. Elder Scott should have been executed for his treason, I replied. I didn't know back then. I only found out when Marvin came to me with his proposal. He told me that it was Scott who betrayed my pack. I always found it strange that he went to Blood Moon not long after the attack. That's when it hit me, Sarin was in so much danger while at Blood Moon with Scott being present. Had her pedigree been discovered before I found her, she really could have been trafficked to Marvin. I shuddered at the thought. Xavier, go back to Black Moon and wait for us to call. I will let you know as soon as we have information on your daughter. If she is a jade wolf, she is definitely still alive. The buyer knows how rare she is and will spare her life for that sole reason. Do not lose hope, my friend. Xavier nodded and Richard turned to me. I must get back to Golden Moon, Jasper. We cannot wait any longer. I will see if I can get Gerard to leave a day early. I nodded my head as well. I could only pray that Marvin doesn't find where everyone is. Otherwise, there is no telling what will happen. Chapter 25. Griffin's POV. There was no doubt about it, T had just hit the fan. We all stood in Richard's office, completely overwhelmed by the newest update. He had just returned and immediately mind-linked me along with Brent and Everett to join him. In addition, he summoned Luna, Sarin and the girls to come as well. Mr. Rossi and Olivia had also finally joined us. He wasted no time at all and told us how Alpha Xavier of Black Moon was involved in all of this. Alexa said softly. You guys knew her? I asked, and both she and Xandra nodded. She was only a couple of years older than us. She was the only other werewolf there. At least that we know of, Xandra answered. We always wondered where she came from. We were so sad when she left and never came back, Alexa mentioned. When was this? I asked them. Xandra hummed, biting her bottom lip with a thoughtful expression on her face. It had to have been 2, maybe 3 years before we escaped, Alexa replied. Richard, I don't understand. I've never heard of a jade wolf before, Luna Sarin stated. They're not as rare as you may believe, Luna. Rare, but not as much as you, or even the girls here. Jade wolves are born more frequently than our kind realizes, Richard responded. What makes them so special? Brent asked. Jade wolves are able to shift when they are infants. Most are born in their wolf form, Beta Everett answered. What? I exclaimed. Are you saying that they're born like a puppy? I asked to make sure I understood correctly. Not exactly, my dear boy. Jade wolves are born in wolf form, but not in a sack, like a dog would give birth. Their births are very unique because although they are in wolf form, they are born naturally the same way a human gives birth, with the umbilical cord attached to the belly button. As soon as a jade wolf pup feels the presence of their parents, they immediately shift back into their infant form, Everett explained. What do jade wolves look like? I mean, if Marvin was told that Xavier's daughter was a jade wolf, he would have needed proof, Luna Sarin pointed out. Yes, Luna, you are indeed correct. The biggest proof of verification is the fact that a jade wolf can shift even as a child because they are born with their wolf spirit. Not like the rest of us who gain our wolves when we become of age at 18. Additionally, the name jade wolf isn't just called that for no reason. They are called that because they are in a jade wolf. They are jade green with green and silver eyes. What? We all exclaimed. How the hell can there be a green wolf? Brent asked. It's not as far-fetched as you may think, Luna Sarin said to us. We all looked at her. As you two may already have figured out, I'm not a normal wolf. Brent? And I just nodded. Beta Everett moved his head. Luna Sarin took a deep breath and looked over at Mr. Rossi, who only nodded as well. I am what the elders call a primordial. A special wolf that is only born to 2 pure-blooded alphas every 200 to 300 years. I am also the last female born, and in my case, that was important because I had to fulfill some kind of prophecy. The vampire attack last year, I said, to which she just nodded. Lorenzo here is also a primordial. He's my forefather. It's hard to explain because Lorenzo never had children of his own. As I already stated, our kind can only be born to 2 pure-blooded alphas. We're blessed with abilities by the moon goddess and the other elders of the supernatural. That explains the freaky super speed and strength we saw back at Blue Lake, Brent said. In addition to enhanced werewolf capabilities, Sarin and I have other powers. Telepathy, telekinesis, the ability to control the mind of you and your wolf, premonition, and the power to control Earth's elements. Sarin is blessed with the power of regeneration, Mr. Rossi further explained. You know Victor's mate, Diana? The Luna asked Brent directly. Yet. She was originally a vampire. Turned by the blood-sucking monster that I killed. When I abandoned my pack, Olivia had given me a new identity, and I actually looked like Diana. Wait, Luna? Are you saying that girl I saw when I went to go get Killian for the first time, the brunette? I exclaimed. Yeah. That was me in disguise. Then who was the person who looked like you? A clone that a dark witch created for Jasper because he is an idiot. I didn't have anything to say to that. I looked over at Beta Everett, who was just as confused as I was. When I glanced at Richard, he just shook his head. He knew all of this already. Anyway, that's beside the point. My point is, Jennifer, being a green-colored wolf isn't so crazy. And I say this because my wolf used to be pink. Pink, we all shouted. You said used to be, Luna? What color is she now? Beta Everett asked. She's light blue. I didn't know a wolf could change colors, I brought up. In normal cases, they don't, Mr. Rossi said, catching my attention. But in Sarin's case, she was part of a long foreseen prophecy, and when her wolf matured to her full powers and abilities, her color changed. At first, we believed it was due to the disguise Olivia had placed on her when she turned into Megan. However, after further research, that wasn't the case. Also, my understanding is that the Jade Wolf isn't actually green, Olivia said, tapping her chin. The last Jade Wolf I ever saw was more of black with a green hue to his fur. When light touched it at a specific angle. It is not uncommon to mistake the Jade Wolf as being green due to this factor. Okay, all of this is great information, and I'm obviously learning a lot right now, but how do we find Xavier's daughter while keeping our mates safe? Brent asked. Mates? So, have the girls accepted the two of you? Richard asked excitedly. Well. I looked over at Xandra, who was looking off to the side, ignoring me. That's yet to be determined, sir. Alexa and I talked it over. We're not at that point yet, but we did agree to take things slow, Brent answered. Luna? I thought you said that you were going to speak with them. Richard asked her. I did, Richard. But you, more than anyone in this office, should know that the mate bond should never be forced. At least the girls aren't going to flat out reject them. They're taking things slow. Brent is a newborn, Alexa and Xandra are still learning to be wolves while trying to figure out who they are as individuals separate from being werewolves. They were given mates in a whole other pack the same time the person who made their lives living nightmares showed up at my pack territory faking an invitation to the Alphas meeting. This weekend has been difficult for everyone, even you. Don't sit there and berate me for not forcing the girls to accept their mates. I said I would speak to them to get them to understand. I never once said that I would force the bond on them. Luna Sarin was really frustrated at Richard's insinuation that she didn't do anything to help Brent and me. You're right, I apologize, Luna. I guess my old age is making me senile. But we have to decide what we are going to do come Monday evening. Everett and I have to announce our retirement and name Griffin my successor, and Brent as Everett's, Richard said, looking at me. Richard, we can still make the announcements. They just need to pick a gamma, and they can decide what to do about announcing that they have mates or not. The Luna is correct. We cannot force these young ladies to accept them, Everett said, putting his hand on Richard's shoulder. Old friend, you and I both know that the pack will be in good hands with Griffin and Brent in charge. You are correct, Everett, as always. I always knew I did right by making you my beta, Richard replied with a smile. Sir, while we're on the topic of leadership in the pack, I began to say and grabbed his attention. I think I know who I want my gamma to be. You want me to what? Mav Kellunk, our head guard, exclaimed when I announced that I wanted him to be the gamma and run the pack alongside Brent and me. I think Mav is a fine choice, Griffin. He'll make a great gamma, Jasper, our previous gamma stated. When I made my decision, I had Richard mind link both of them to come to the office. We asked that the Luna and the girls go back to my mother's place and wait for us there, while Mr. Rossi and Olivia were being shown to their guest room in the pack house by an Omega. It wasn't because we were trying to get rid of them, the reason being we didn't want to explain everything to Mav Kellunk right away. He was someone I knew could be trusted with the girl's secret. The Luna stated that she really doesn't care who knows about her at this point and had no issues with me telling Mav Kellunk who she was when the time was right. Mav Kellunk stuttered. Brent and I smirked at just how caught off guard he was by the news. Why? Come man, do you really have to ask? I asked him. You're the head guard. You're smart, quick on your feet, and you have the respect of the pack. Especially the other guards and warriors. You trained me, and Brent. That is until we both surpassed you. But that goes to show how well you trained us. The students became the teachers and now, these teachers are going to run this pack when Richard and Everett announce their retirement in 2 days' time. Seriously? You're becoming Alpha. And you want me to be your Gamma? I'm a Omega. So am I. So is Brent. Hell, Brent is even lower than an Omega. He's a newborn. I joked, which made Brent glare at me. Mav Kellunk, my boy, take the position. If there is someone I trust more than Griffin to take that spot, it's you, Jasper said to him, patting him on the back. Come on man, Brent said to him. The three of us are already close friends. You guys showed me how to be a werewolf and a guard. I would be honored to run this pack with you guys. You always said you wanted to get away from training, did you not? Training is the beta's job, so you would be in charge of pack logistics and keeping the peace between pack members. You already do that as it is when a fight breaks out. And you do it without having to get physical, or at least not much, I told him. Mav Kellunk just stared and said nothing. I could see the cogwheels turning in his head as he considered my offer. I saw his gaze revert back to Jasper next to him, who just smiled and nodded. Then his gaze fell upon Richard and Everett, and I could see in my peripherals that they also nodded their heads. Finally, he turned his eyes back to me, and I smiled at him. He took a deep breath and looked at the floor while he exhaled. After what felt like an hour of silence, Mav Kellunk let out another sigh and nodded his head. He looked up and smiled. I smiled in return. Brent slapped him on the back hard and laughed with delight. I am here to serve you, Alpha Griffin, Mav Kellunk said, making me laugh. Then it's settled. We have our new ranked members of Golden Moon. Richard bellowed in his alpha tone. A fine trio of young men to take our places, Everett said with a nod. I couldn't agree more. Now you two can finally join me in retirement, Jasper said to Richard and Everett, making us all smile and laugh. How is that none of us had, boys? Everett asked. Don't know, don't care. I love my girls, and they're serving their roles just fine at their packs. My life has come full circle, Jasper answered, and Richard just nodded. I wanted to give this time to Mav Kellunk so he could fully enjoy his new promotion to a ranked werewolf. Whatever we did in our lives to deserve this kind of blessing, none of us knew, but we're not going to take it for granted. Especially me. I was dealt a pretty SHTTY hand when I met Tareen and was rejected via hotel notepad, and the only good thing to come out of that messed up mate bond was Killian. Now, whatever the moon goddess wanted of me, she's mated me with Xandra. Her own daughter. I already knew what my first order of business as the new Alpha of Golden Moon was going to be. Well, more like my second order of business. The first would be to get Mav Kellenk caught up on everything and to make sure he knew how important Xandra and Alexa were. I had no doubt in my mind that he would do whatever it took to protect them. Mav Kellenk was a big guy, and scary when he was in fight mode. He was 6'5" and 275 pounds of solid muscle. The women in the pack loved him and called him Chocolate Thunder. Having him as Gamma was a no-brainer in my mind. As soon as Brent and I got him up to speed, our first order of business as the new leaders of this pack would be to find a way to bring down Marvin Archimedes and find a way to find Jennifer of Black Moon and return her safely to Xavier. I was going to have to work closely with Alpha Jasper of Blue Lake, especially now that I was in charge of keeping his Luna and his son safe. Though something told me that the Luna didn't really need any protection. Unknown POV. Please, please don't hurt me, the human beneath me begged for her life. Hurt you? I'm not going to hurt you, I responded. I saw the glimmer of hope in her eyes. Just like they all did when I said that. It made taking that hope away even better when I said, I'm going to kill you. I laughed as I released my tail of knives. Oh my God, what are you? She shouted as she struggled to break away from my grip. She was no match for me. Me? Oh, I'm just an average nine-tailed fox, I responded as I wagged my tail in all directions trying to decide which blade to kill this human with. Please, no, please, I'm pregnant. Oh, 2 for the price of 1. Very nice. Her eyes widened in fear as I made my selection and cut her multiple times while avoiding any major arteries. The last thing I wanted for her was to die too quickly. That would be no fun. I took my time with her, as I did all of my victims. She was victim number 12, and her unborn, lucky number 13. When I was done with her, I left her sprawled out on the floor of her apartment as I did all of my prior victims. I put my tail away, cleaned up, and went up to the rooftop of the building, and leaped across to the other side. When I landed, I was met with a group of unknown men. You've been busy, Mr. Fox. Who are you? I asked the unknown man. My name is not important, but you, my dear specimen, are very important. Specimen? What spot? Boys, make sure you don't damage that tail of his. That is where this one is going to make us a lot of money. Yes, sir, the crowd of men shouted. I turned to leap back to the other building but was met with another group. Who were these men? Some were supernatural, some weren't. Some were human. How did they know I was a fox? How did they know about my tail? I looked for an escape, but there was none. I looked back at the unknown man who spoke to me. Who are you? I shouted. Me? Just someone hired to snag you so we can make millions, he replied and laughed maniacally. I took out my tail and started to sh at the men. At this rate, I didn't care if I was caught by human authorities. I was not going to become some stuffed fox for this guy to hang up in his living room. Get him, the man shouted at his goons. I slashed one, but he recovered, and then I felt a WH.P around my leg. I was brought down and face planted the floor. Just then, they all piled on top of me, and I felt my tail being tied against my body so I couldn't control it. I felt a jab in my neck, and my vision started to blur. What is this thing? I heard someone ask as my consciousness went back and forth. This, Diego, is what the boss calls a nine-tailed werewolf. He says that it's a rare breed and that he's been after him for months. He said he got a tip on his whereabouts from a friend at Interpol in Luxembourg. Apparently, he was also being hunted by bounty hunters for human authorities. We needed to get to him before they did. My eyes started to close as I felt my head spinning. Bag him and tag him, boys. We need to get him stateside ASAP. Yes, Bane. Nighty night, Mr. Fox, was the last thing I heard before everything went dark. Third-person POV. They watched from afar as the fox they had been after for the last 2 weeks was captured so easily. Whoever this group was, they were stunned at how efficient they were taking down a powerful adversary such as the nine-tailed fox. Holy SH, did you guys see that? Jedediah, a team member exclaimed after he saw what just happened. Amos, what are we going to do? I don't know, Amy, but we need to report this back to the boss, Amos replied. Amos, I think those men are traffickers. The one who was in charge just now said that the fox would be worth millions, Albert, one of Amos' team members, said. Albert, Amos said to him. Sir. I want you to take Team 1 and follow these guys. Figure out where their base of operations is. If they're trafficking the supernatural, we need to stop them. Wait, why do we care what happens to this guy? Jedediah asked in utter confusion. We've been tracking this guy for 2 weeks. Even the bounty hunters Dorian sent couldn't catch this guy. If this is about the bounty, Jed, this has nothing to do with the bounty. The boss could care less about the money. He has endless supply of money, Amy said as she smacked Jedediah upside the head. Jed, these men are trafficking the supernatural. That's something that we don't stand for, regardless of who their victims are. Trafficking the supernatural is a very high-risk business, and it can lead to the exposure of our kind to humans. If humans are the buyers, that makes it even worse. This guy is a monster. Look what he's done to countless innocent humans. Who cares what happens to him? Let him become someone else's. That's karma for the that he's done. Karma isn't justice, Jed, Albert said to him. We need to have him turned into the authorities for the supernatural. It is against the law of our kind to hurt humans for the game. For any supernatural other than vampires. They kill for food. This guy was killing for sport, and that is prohibited, Amy told him. Being a tracker isn't just about finding the target, Jed. It's about making sure the proper measures are taken regardless of who or what they are, Amos concluded. Jedediah sighed and nodded his head in understanding. Albert, go, Amos commanded, and Albert took several of their teammates and left to follow the group of men who captured the fox. The rest of us, let's go home and update the Alpha on the way. Something tells me this is bigger than any one of us can comprehend. Chapter 26. Levi's POV. Ring ring ring. Hello. Levi. What is it, Bane? Just wanted to let you know that we got the fox the boss had us hunting. Did he put up much of a fight? Nah, he tried, but the sheer number of us caught him off guard. And you made sure that it was done discreetly. Of course. There was no one around. It was the middle of the night, and we were on the rooftops. Good. Hopefully, his disappearance will only be considered a blessing by the authorities that are after him. Serial killers fall off the grid all the time. Exactly. So, when are you and the boss returning? We're on our way back now. With Project Gemini, I presume. Sadly, no. What? Before you say anything, they were here. I even saw them with my own eyes. They looked healthy and well taken care of. That works in our favor. But what doesn't work is that it appears these wolves are smarter than we thought. They figured out it was the boss that was after them, took precautions when dealing with me, and they hid the girls at another pack. Alright, so let's go get them. Hold your horses, Bane. I don't know which pack they went to. All I know is they went with an individual by the name of Brent. That doesn't help us. I know it doesn't, but it's all I've got. SHT, without Project Gemini the buyers are going to back out and we're going to be stuck working for the boss. You don't think I know that? Look, just keep a lid on it until we can come up with a plan to find out where they went. Fine. After I hung up with Bane, I rubbed my temples with my fingertips. Thankfully, the boss was still in the restroom at the gas station we recently stopped at. I was racking my brain, trying to figure out how we were going to track down the girls without alerting others of our profession. I was pretty sure all of those werewolves already suspected something. It didn't take a rocket scientist to realize that we were there with an ulterior motive. All because the boss couldn't keep his pride to himself. What are you doing just standing there, Levi? I jumped when I heard the boss bark at me. Sorry, just thinking about what we can do to get Project Gemini back. Leave that up to me. All you need to do is have your men ready to breach whatever pack they escaped to when I get the information I need. Yes, boss. I sat down in the driver's seat as he returned to the cabin of the vehicle, and we began the final 2-hour drive back to base. Jasper's POV. Dorian, what did you just say? You heard me, Jasper. That trafficking group you've been so worked up about has just kidnapped a werewolf one of my tracker teams and bounty hunters were targeting. They literally witnessed a group of humans and werewolves take him. Are you telling me that your pack members saw the group, in person? Yes. Jasper, I think it's time we let bygones be bygones and work together to bring down this group. If this group is taking rare and special supernatural creatures, every single one of my ranked females is in danger. I will not idly stand by as this group threatens the supernatural and pose a risk to those close to me. Especially my wife. How fast can you get to Michigan? My team is on their way back from Europe on my jet. As soon as they land, I will have it refueled and will head out here. I'm guessing you're bringing your wife with you. I have to talk to her about this first. She's about halfway through her pregnancy, and our female gamma is also pregnant. We have a hospital here, and my gamma female is also pregnant. They will be in good company. I need to have a round table with my ranked members. I suggest you do the same since they would all be coming if that's what is decided. My deltas are part vampire, so hopefully, that won't be a problem. You have deltas? Since when? For the last 4 years. Don't worry, they feed on animal blood if needed and human blood out of blood bags. They would bring their own supply. Oh, okay. I don't think that should be a problem. I'll let you know the plan after I speak to everyone. Understood. See you soon, cuz. Dorian hung up the phone and I looked around the room now full of confused faces. Jasper, was that Ben's son? My father asked me and I nodded my head. I thought you two weren't on speaking terms after what you did 10 years ago. We weren't, but I had asked him to look into the trafficking group the girls were running from. And what did he say? I took a deep breath and explained everything to everyone in my office, which included Kendrick, Melody, Jason, Milan, Angelo, and our parents. Are you telling me that Dorian and his ranked members are going to be coming here? Melody exclaimed. I'm not 100% positive on the females but the males, yes. And he wanted me to tell everyone that his deltas are part vampire, but that they can control their thirst, I answered. I don't get it. If we already know who the traffickers are, and Dorian's employees or whatever they are, saw the group kidnap someone and know for a fact that it was for illicit reasons, then why can't we report this to the elders? Jason asked. 1. This guy is from Canada, so our elders wouldn't be able to do anything. 2. Jonah is already aware that there is something fishy with Marvin Archimedes and is going to investigate a way to conduct an investigation on him. He's on our side, and like us, he knows that this situation is delicate. I think that's what Marvin is counting on. The fact that his illicit extracurricular activities won't be affected by our laws here. Everyone nodded their heads and took deep breaths. If Dorian and his pack members are going to be coming, we're going to clear out the West Wing guest rooms, my mother said. Mom, I would clear out as many of them as possible. If I know Dorian, and I do, he's going to have more than just his ranked members coming. Oh, well, then I guess I better get started. She gracefully stood up and left, and I knew for a fact that she already had a group of Omegas in mind to help her. How long is Sarin going to be gone? Milan asked. As long as she needs to be if it means keeping her and Sam safe, I replied. But if Marvin knows that they're no longer here, it won't take long for him to find them at Golden Moon. That's why when Dorian gets here, we're going to Golden Moon. Jasper, Milan can't leave the castle. She's going to give birth within the next few weeks. We don't know how long it's going to take to bring down this trafficking group, let alone find Alpha Xavier's missing daughter, Jason said in a worrisome tone. You and Milan will stay here and hold down the fort. Kendrick and I will be going. Angelo, you and the other guards are coming too. Leave Maddox to help Jason, but make sure you tell Owen and Hugo, I replied. Yes, Alpha. Shall I go do that now? Yes, please. Angelo stood up and bowed his head. Milan, the Desert Moon Luna, and Gamma Female are also expecting, so please make sure that they are given the best prenatal care by Dr. Andrews and the nursing staff. I specifically want Cyrena, Joy, and Irene on their care, I commanded. Sure thing, she answered. What about us? Melody asked me. Pack a go bag, and make sure Mom is ready to watch over Leanne when the time comes. Okay, easy enough. Dad, do me a favor and reach out to Jonah. See if he's come up with anything. I need to check in with Sarin. My dad nodded, and everyone dispersed out of the office. When I was finally alone, I tried to mind-link Sarin. I was hoping that Golden Moon was still within reception distance, but I was met with a block. I called her instead when I couldn't get through that way. After ringing several times, she finally answered the phone. Hello. Tink, why can't I mind-link you? I was putting Sam down for bed. Oh, I thought something may have happened. Is everything else all right? Is the Golden Moon Pack treating you with respect? Yes, they are. Although, Xandra seems to have made her first enemy, of the female variety. What? You have only been there for 1 day. How the hell? Let's just say Griffin is a very well-liked pack member if you catch my drift. Oh, my goddess! Is Xandra all right? She didn't start a fight, did she? What? No, of course not. This is Xandra we're talking about. I couldn't say the same if it were Alexa that got into the altercation. I honestly wonder why Xandra was mated to Griffin and not Alexa. Xandra is too conservative and shy. Alexa is the more outspoken and tough one. I think that's why Sarin. Hey! Griffin is going to be an alpha, and Xandra is going to be Luna. Xandra seems more of the loving type and warm-hearted. Exactly what a Luna needs to be. But I don't doubt that when push comes to shove, Xandra will reveal her true strength and show some ATT, Tude. That is true. She did threaten to scratch the face of the girls who root with Griffin in front of her. Ha ha ha. She did not. She did. She thought she said it to herself, but apparently not. I shook my head. The fact that there was already drama didn't surprise me. Anyway, I just wanted to check in, dearest. I hate not having you at home with me. I know, I miss you too, Jasper. Sam misses you too. He asked for you a little while ago. Give him a kiss for me. I'm sure I'll see you soon. What? What do you mean by that? You'll see. I love you, Sarin. Okay. I love you too, Jasper. After I hung up with Sarin, I went back to my room, and her scent that lingered filled my nostrils. This was the first time that she wasn't here after we patched up things between us. I truly hated not having her here, and so did Blade. He was still angry at me for sending her off to Golden Moon, but I kept reminding him how important her safety, and the safety of our son, was. In the end, it shut him up and kept him calm. I needed some relief in my life, and the fact that Sarin wasn't here to help me made it even harder. Of all the times for me to get horny, and my mate wasn't here to help. I decided that if I had to suffer, I would make sure she knew what it felt like. I smirked at the thought that crossed my mind. I rest and got into bed and inhaled her scent. The scent that calmed my soul, and yet made me hard all at once. I took out my phone and sent explicit gifs to her of everything that I wanted to do to her, and then some. Sarin, oh my god. Jasper, what are you doing? Me, it's pretty obvious what I'm doing, Tink. Sarin, this is so inappropriate. Me, so, it's just between us. It's not like you're going to show anyone our texts. Me, besides, I'm horny as and I miss you. Sarin, so, what? You're trying to get me horny with you when neither one of us can do anything about it. Me, yup. Sarin, hell, Jasper. Me, my Luna has a potty mouth. Maybe I should punish you for the profanity when we're reunited. Sarin, really? What makes you think I'll let you punish me? Me, let me? Sarin Calloway, have you forgotten who I am? I'm Jasper Valencia, Alpha of the Blue Lake Pack. When I want to bend you over, I'm going to, and you will do as I command. Sarin, I guess we'll have to see how that plays out when you come here, now won't we? Me, my dearest Luna, are you challenging me? Sarin, what if I am, Alpha? I raised my brows at what I just read. Sarin was challenging me. I hadn't even realized that my hand was in my boxers and gripping my stiff self. I muttered to myself. Me, Sarin, I'm hard as a rock right now. Sarin, you started this, Jasper. No one told you to send me gifts of expositions. Where did you find these anyways? *RN site? Me, what? Sarin, I don't watch. We have enough X that I don't need to. Only guys who can't get laid watch *N. Sarin, really? That's not what the other girls tell me. Me, what? Me, are you telling me that you girls talk about *N when us guys aren't around? Sarin, talk about it. Jasper, we watch it. Me, you what? My mouth dropped at her response. My sister and Milan have been corrupting her. I was pretty sure that Michelle and Diana had something to do with this as well. My phone pinged with another text, and what I saw had me jerking off in no time flat. Sarin, thanks to you, I think I'm going to go have some personal relief. Good night, Baby. I texted her back, but she never responded. She couldn't be, could she? Could she actually without me? I was dumbfounded that my plan had completely backfired. I was horny enough to get over it without having to j.irk off, but seeing her n.ached body and her fingers playing with herself, I knew that I was either going to need to take a cold shower, or I was going to have to relieve myself. I decided to shoot the poison. I wasn't about to let Sarin get to have all the fun. I grabbed my phone and recorded myself. This was the best way to get back at her. Chapter 27. Sarin's POV. I could not believe the nerve of Jasper. Just because he was miserable, he didn't have to go and do the same to me. I don't even know what came over me, but all those gifts he sent over had me doing things we only did behind closed doors together. I was a guest at another pack, and here I was in the bathtub of the guest room with my finger inside of the most sacred spot, giving myself pleasure. I pictured Jasper and his hands caressing my body, setting ablaze the undeniable pleasure that only his hands were capable of. It was pure bliss. A soft moan escaped my L.P.S. as I pretended his amazing C*K was inside of me, hitting all of the right places. It wasn't long before I found the perfect spot that made my eyes roll to the back of my head. I was so close to climaxing and feeling my body sink into breathlessness. Knock knock knock. The sudden noise of someone banging at my door disrupted my thoughts, and worse, my pleasure. IGR0ANED in pure annoyance. What? I shouted at the door, completely irritated. I was so close. Sarin, it's Alexa, please open the door, she sounded frantic. I let out a sigh and unplugged the drain, wrapping myself in a towel. I went to open the door. And, as soon as I did, I could hear rabid growling, snarling, and screams. I used my speed to quickly get dressed and ran down to the packhouse foyer to see what all of the commotion was all about. When I finally showed up, the sight before me was magnificent. Horrifying but also magnificent. There, in the middle of the crowd, was a pure white wolf. Whiter than snow. In front of it, another wolf that was a dark and dull, grey color with gold eyes. The white wolf turned to face me and, there, I saw it. Bright blue eyes that glowed, and there was pure rage inside of them. Holy hell, is that Xandra? I asked Alexa and she nodded. She was obviously freaking out. What happened? Why is Xandra in wolf form? I thought you two never shifted before. We haven't. I swear. But the grey wolf, she started it. Who is she? Lorelei? I think. I shifted my focus back to the snarling wolves. Xandra has never fought before, she has never been in wolf form before. Alpha blood or not, goddess blood or not, Xandra would not win this battle. Not by a long shot. What happened, Alexa? Tell me now. I shouted again. We were just sitting down on the couch, talking to each other. We were trying to decide if we wanted to accept Brent and Griffin. The next thing I know, that girl Lorelei and her friends came over and slapped Xandra. Said that she had no right to try and claim Griffin. That Griffin deserved better than her. I rubbed my temples to ease the frustration. We've been here less than a day and already there was trouble brewing. Was every pack cursed with a jealous female? I swear to the moon goddess that this was getting old, and fast, for me. A sudden roar snatched me from my thoughts as I saw Lorelei's wolf leaned back, poised to strike at Xandra. I quickly shifted into my wolf, shredding all of my clothes, and jumped between them. Though my wolf was small, there was no doubt that Callie had power. Callie delivered a warning growl to Lorelei's wolf, but she still wouldn't submit to me. I may be a Luna, but I wasn't her Luna, so there was nothing compelling her to do so. This was going to get ugly and fast if I didn't stop her. Callie didn't take disrespect kindly, and she wouldn't hesitate to put Lorelei in her place for instigating a fight with a guest of the pack house. I decided to use my powers to tap into her wolf's mind, attempting to do some damage control. Stand down. What? Who are you? How are you able to speak to me? What is your name? Nova. Stand down, Nova. As a Luna of the Blue Lake Pack, I command you and your human to stand down. It is not I in attack mode, Luna. It is my human. She is crazed. Then as her wolf, you should be reeling her back in. I can't. She has shut me out. Then you are as weak as she is. I turned off the link to Nova and used my powers to keep Lorelei at bay. The crowd gasped as I stalked forward and kept pushing her back, without even laying a finger on her. After she was a good distance away, I forced her to shift back into her human form, causing her to shriek in the process. I recently found out that forcing a wolf to shift back into their human was painful, but she gave me no other choice. What Spot? What are you doing to me? Lorelei screamed once she fully returned to human form. Callie turned her head to face Xandra's wolf, Atlanta, and tapped into her mind as well. Atlanta, give Xandra back control. Xandra, shift back now. Without hesitation, Atlanta gave Xandra control and shifted back. The sheer terror in her eyes was evident as she realized that she shifted for the first time and was about to go head-to-head with another female over her mate bond with Griffin. There was fight and passion in Xandra, something she hadn't shown before. Maybe Jasper was right, having Griffin as a mate would be a good thing for her. I turned my attention back to Lorelei and immediately shifted back myself. I continued to subdue her with my powers, and I saw fear overcome her expression as she came to the realization that I was the one doing it to her. What are you? She screamed. A blessed wolf, and a Luna. You dare attack my pack member? I blasted her in my Luna tone. Even though the girls were never formally accepted into our pack, I still considered them as such. We are guests of your alpha. And this is how we are treated. I roared in her face. I let my mind relax before I continued, releasing her from my hold. She stayed frozen in her spot. Are you not aware that physically attacking a Luna is punishable by death? I didn't attack you. I'm not talking about me, I shouted at Lorelei, I'm talking about her. I pointed at Xandra, the crowd gasped and Xandra paled. I knew she hadn't accepted Griffin out loud, but seeing her reaction to someone challenging her mate bond already proved she was going to. Though, none of that mattered right now. Being of alpha blood meant that she was already considered a ranked wolf, and attacking a ranked wolf unprovoked was illegal. Attacking any wolf for that matter, but a ranked wolf was even worse. She's not. She can't be. Look at her. Lorelei cried out. Look at what? Since when does physical appearance justify who or what a Luna is? I bellowed back. She's not like you, Luna. She's weak. I can sense how weak she is. She would never be a suitable mate for Griffin. And her being a Luna makes no sense. I baffled at how she claimed to sense Xandra's weakness. There anything but weakness coming from Xandra. Why? Because she was taken in, off the streets? Newsflow Kale Thornwood, Lorelei, I was taken off the streets too. I was a child slave to the fallen Blood Moon Pack, but I am also the daughter of two alphas. Never judge a book by its cover. Especially if you don't want to end up like Griffin's first mate, I gritted my teeth. What is the meaning of this? A loud and powerful voice boomed. I stood straight up and faced Richard, still in my birthday suit as Milan always said when referring to nudity. Next to him were Beta Everett, Griffin, Brent, and another individual I didn't know. Alpha. Everyone bowed to Richard and I could sense the anger rolling off of him in waves. He was a powerful alpha, as powerful as Jasper. Maybe even more. It's no wonder he will become an elder after everything was said and done. His alpha aura demanded respect and attention, and he got both without question. Luna Sarin, what is going on? Griffin asked me as he held Xandra in his arms. I smirked when I saw this. She leaned into him out of pure instinct and I knew it right then and there. She accepted him. There was no going back for her. She accepted a challenge unintentionally and, even though I intervened, it was too late for this Lorelei. Xandra would be her Luna. Alpha Richard, with all due respect, perhaps you should be more diligent in educating your pack members about respect. I may not be this pack's Luna, but I am still in fact, a Luna. The Luna to an ally pack at that. Furthermore, challenging a female for her mate is forbidden, let alone assaulting them unprovoked. Assault! Griffin growled. I looked towards him, Xandra still in his arms and his eyes black as night. Griffin may not be ranked, yet, but he definitely had power. Richard chose a suitable successor. Perhaps there was more to Griffin than meets the eye. She said that she wanted to take you as her mate. She did. She's not even part of this pack. Rumor has it she's a street wolf. You, Griffin. Everyone knows what you've been through already. You don't need that kind of heartache again. Especially over another member of Blue Lake. Lorelei exclaimed. I turned and snarled at her. Are you insinuating that all females in my pack are like Tarine? I growled. I don't have to insinuate, they are. Look at you, she retaliated, making everyone gasp. You abandoned your own pack, did you not? Goddess, how long will people hold that against me? Rumors always glossed over the details, it's not like they were in a position or were even there to see how SHT actually happened. Alpha, I have every right to protect a member of this pack, especially someone like Griffin. He's respected here, and everyone adores him. To be claimed by a Blue Lake she-wolf is blasphemous and unacceptable. And what authority do you have to say such things, Lorelei? Richard growled at her. Who are you to Griffin? Who are you to me? You're low-level Omega. You hold no rank. You hold no leadership position. You're nothing but a body to fill a number. My eyes bulged at his harsh words. Even Jasper and I never spoke to a member that cruelly before. I'm tired of your overbearing infatuation with Griffin. He is not taking a chosen mate in Xandra. Xandra is his second chance given by the moon goddess herself. You have no right to challenge her. She is a guest of this pack, and you have blatantly brought shame upon us. Lorelei lowered her head. You're lucky that it was the Luna who intervened and not me. I turned my gaze to Griffin, whose eyes were still black with fury over the assault on Xandra. Stay spot away from me, Lorelei. If you even think about touching Xandra again, I won't hesitate to have you executed. Pack members of Golden Moon collectively gasped at his threat. From what I knew about Griffin, he wasn't a violent person unless absolutely necessary, but I guess someone threatening your mate would do that to you. I watched as he led her away, growling at any males that stared at her and ached form. Alexa, come on, Brent went to her and led her away as well. That's when pack members started to mumble, seeing his affection towards Alexa. It didn't take a genius to know who she was to him, and even a blind person could tell that there were some females envious of Alexa now as well. The jealousy that raged in females over losing a male to their mate was ridiculous and quite immature, honestly. Mates were created for Ariason. Why the hell didn't people get that? Lorelei, are you okay? I heard someone ask. I turned to see people helping her. Where the hell do you think you're going? I sneered. They stopped what they were doing and stared at me in shock. Did I say you could leave? With all due respect, you're not our Luna, said one of the girls who came to help, but she gulped immediately after. Do I look like I care? I responded. You want to know why I left my pack, Lorelei? I said while getting in her face and grabbing her chin. It was because of a BH like you who thought they could use dark magic to drive a wedge between the mate bond with my alpha. Guess what happened to her? She's dead. I ripped her apart before snapping her neck. All of Golden Moon froze in their places, fixated on my conversation with Lorelei. I rose up to address the room, indifferent to the fact that I was still fully and ached from my shift. If anyone in this pack even dares to try to come between the mate bond of Griffin and Xandra, as well as Brent and Alexa, you will answer directly to me. Everyone just witnessed what I can do, but know this: I am capable of so much more. If you don't wish to feel my Luna wrath, you will back they off. I roared in my Luna tone, shaking the entire foyer and sending chills through everyone's spines. Answer the Luna. Richard boomed in his alpha tone. Yes, Luna, everyone shouted in unison and then dispersed, hit by light. Luna, a word please, Richard said. I nodded my head as an Omega of Golden Moon finally handed me a blanket to cover up. That only took forever. I followed Richard to his office along with Beta Everett and the unknown person. When we got there, Griffin was doing his best to comfort Xandra. She was afraid because she was able to shift in anger despite the fact she had never shifted before. Atlanta was a beautiful, snow-white wolf. Her fur complemented the bright blue eyes the girls shared. I wondered what color Alexa's wolf, Brooklyn, was. Are you okay? I heard Griffin ask Xandra as he rubbed her shoulders. She was also covered in a blanket, and Alexa was trying to be comforting as well. I don't think I've ever been so angry before. I never thought I could ever get that. What's the word? Pissed off. I answered for her. Their heads jolted up in our direction. Yo, you guys have some major explaining to do, the unknown male said. Who are you? I asked him. He looked at me and bowed his head. Luna, my name is Mav Kellunk, he paused a minute and looked to Griffin and Brent. He's my Gamma, Luna, Griffin said. Oh. Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, Mav Kellunk, I said, putting my hand out. He didn't shake it but bowed his head again. Luna, if you will. I looked over and saw that Richard was already seated, kindly gesturing to the chair opposite of him. I took my seat and looked him in the eyes as a sign of respect. Sarin, I don't take kindly to you threatening my pack members that way, he asserted. I was about to say something when he continued. But, I understand and will allow it in this circumstance. Lorelei has been a loose cannon ever since Griffin brought Killian home. Killian was a shock to the pack since Griffin never disclosed the fact he had a mate. That's why it was so difficult to find him when Jasper had reached out about finding Killian's biological father. Who is she? Why is so obsessed with Griffin? Alexa asked from her seat. Alexa, don't interrupt, Brent said to her sternly. No, let her. That's her sister, and she has the right to have answers. I want to know as well, I responded. Who is she? I asked Griffin directly. She's no one, Luna. It's as Alpha Richard says, she's infatuated with me. Has been since we were young. Luna, she's the same age as you. She's only 20 and I'm 22. When Lorelei turned 18, she was hoping I would be her mate. She's always had this one-sided crush on me. I never returned those feelings because, well, quite frankly, I never saw her that way. I barely even knew her until she turned 18. I saw her around, and she followed me like a lost puppy in her early teens. When she turned 18, she came running up to me one day and she just stared at me. And I mean, really stared. Then she panicked and ran from me. I didn't know what her issue was at first, but then I found out from some rumors that she had hoped I would be her mate, Griffin explained. Oh my goddess, she sounds like Layla, was the first thing out of my mouth when I heard that. You can imagine the uproar bringing Killian home created. I had a son, and not an illegitimate one either. My son with my first mate. It was then Lorelei figured out why she wasn't my mate. It was because I had already had one and was rejected, but not before fathering a child. I'm assuming that the pack found out it was a Blue Lake female that broke your heart. Which is why she believes that Xandra is unworthy and why she insulted me and all the she-wolves of my pack. I asked, just for confirmation. Luna, you have my deepest apologies for her actions, Griffin answered and bowed his head. That's not needed, Griffin. I don't care. My pack has bad apples, that I will never deny. But the fact that Lorelei challenged Xandra for her mate was out of line. Richard, I really hope you don't plan on going easy on her, do you? Xandra is the future Luna of this pack. Jasper and I made that mistake with Layla, the one who almost destroyed our bond, and look what happened to us. I won't stand by and watch as someone tries to pull that kind of bullshit with Xandra, or Alexa for that matter. You need not worry, young Luna. Lorelei will be punished, but after we make the announcement on Monday about Griffin, Brent and Mav Kellunk, he replied. I nodded my head but was not happy with his answer. This was his pack though, that is until he gave his rights over to Griffin. Then it would be Griffin's pack. But with Richard becoming the future elder of Golden Moon, Griffin would be on a tight leash Thornwood, that was for sure. I wasn't bluffing when I threatened the pack members of Golden Moon. If anyone tried to come between the mate bond of the girls, they would answer directly to me. I made a vow to protect them, and it would be at all costs. Although, I was still trying to figure out why I was so drawn to them. So drawn that I would threaten another pack in front of their alpha. They weren't primordials, that was a fact, but I felt connected to them. Why though? Chapter 28. Sarin's POV. I don't understand, why am I so drawn to them? I voiced my concern to William and Olivia after I explained all of the drama that occurred. I tagged along while they roamed Golden Moon's territory so Olivia could place a magical barrier surrounding it. Her magic would alert her of anyone or anything coming through the territory that wasn't from Golden Moon or Blue Lake. A precaution, if you will, should Xavier happen to tell Marvin our whereabouts. Sarin, I don't know what to tell you. I know the reason as to why I am connected to them, but I can't explain why you are, he answered. I was a former guardian of the kingdom. Their mother is the goddess of the wolves. I can feel their power, the moon's power, but for you, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. I've never felt this close to anyone other than you two, Jasper, and Sam. Of course my parents too, but two complete strangers? I mean, they're not strangers anymore obviously, but when I first met them, they just gave off this familiar aura that I can't place. It must be why I am so drawn to them. The aura they emit when they're both emotional is one I've felt before, but my mind keeps drawing a blank. How long ago do you think you felt this aura? Not from the girls, but when you felt it for the first time? Olivia asked. I don't remember, that's the problem. If I did, I wouldn't be here trying to figure it out, I snapped. Why can't you use magic to help me remember? I argued. Because, Sarin, that's not how it works. In order for me to use that kind of magic, it would need to be a memory. But our senses aren't necessarily memories of the heart or brain, it's a memory of the body, and those memories can't be dug up with magic, she replied. Your protective instinct over them is natural for a Luna, especially one as powerful as yourself. Pack member or not, you have a bond with these girls that even I cannot decipher. But don't fret, Sarin. There will be a day that we figure it out. Our main concern, however, is keeping any harm from coming to them, William consoled me as he held my shoulders. I nodded my head and let it go, for now. It wasn't just sheer coincidence they landed at Blue Lake. I returned to my guest room and, thankfully, Sam was still fast asleep. This kid could sleep through just about anything. I smiled as I looked at my son and thought about how I would do anything to keep him safe. Knowing that someone like Marvin was out there taking rare and special children away from their families made my heart stop. The fact that I could have been one, the fact that even Sam could be one wasn't something I took lightly. I'll never understand how someone could hurt something so innocent. As I was lost in thought, Sam started to fuss in his sleep and I quickly went over to tend to him. I laid down next to him and hummed his lullaby that Grace taught me. I tapped his back gently and soothed him back to dreamland. Samson, Mommy loves you more than you will ever know. I will do whatever it takes to keep you protected, even if that means having to sacrifice myself in the process. Our kind will not end with me, it will flourish with you. I will make sure of it. Primordials will no longer have to wait eons to be born. I know in my heart that you will find a perfect mate one day, a pure alpha female, and you too will continue our bloodline. You will make William proud, I whispered to him as he slept. Once I knew that he was out, I changed into a different pair of pajamas and got under the covers with him. I thought being without Jasper would make it hard to sleep, but with Sam here, it's definitely easier. I turned off the lamp and was about to close my eyes when my phone dinged. I looked and saw a notification from Jasper. I opened the text and saw a video. I hit play and immediately growled in annoyance, Jasper and his perverted ways. I was even more agitated because he got to finish, and I didn't. I threw the phone back onto the nightstand and went to sleep. Griffin's POV. My alarm went off as it always did for morning training. I rolled over, shut it off and sat up in my bed. I was so exhausted from the night before. I barely got any sleep, but today was going to be a life-changing day. Tonight would be the night that Richard announced me as the next alpha of Golden Moon. Me, the next alpha. I scoffed at the thought. This was actually happening. I was going to be alpha. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I would become an alpha, let alone alpha of a pack as great as this. I allowed myself to feel happy for a brief moment and thought about Killian. There were still some mixed emotions, knowing everything that Tarine plotted to get our son to be a ranked wolf, only for it to end like this. Instead of a fake beta, Killian was going to inherit an alpha TLE when he came of age. It will be hard for him when that time comes. Because he wasn't born an alpha, people will challenge him for his TLE, that I can't stop. It's the way of the wolf. But, I can help him prepare himself for when those times do come one day. Knock knock knock. I jumped out of bed to open the door and was surprised to see Xandra. Xandra, what are you doing up so early? And what brings you here? I'm sorry, I didn't wake you, did I? She shyly asked. No, I was already up. I have morning training. Is everything okay? I asked. I was a little worried because she had never visited my room since we returned home. Do you have a minute to talk? She asked softly while fidgeting with her fingers. I glanced at the clock and noticed there was a 5-minute window before I needed to report to the training grounds. 5 minutes, actually, I replied and let her in. She walked to the center of the room and was breathing hard. Xandra, what's wrong? I gently placed my hand on her shoulders when she didn't respond and she turned to face me. I was flabbergasted to see tears rolling down her cheeks. Xandra, what happened? Why are you crying? Seeing her emotions stirred up feelings I couldn't identify and I grabbed hold of her to bring her closer. It's what Lorelai said about me. She basically called me an inferior street wolf that's not worthy of being your mate. Is that true? Do you feel that way about me? I was baffled by her accusation. What? No. Xandra, why would you even ask me that? She's not the only one, Griffin. Last night while the door to our guest room was cracked, we heard pack members saying that both Alexa and I don't deserve mates because we're street wolves and come from Sarin's pack. People are saying that Alexa and I should leave and go back to living on the streets, and when you realize that I'm no good for you that you're going to reject me. My blood was boiling hearing this. Lorelai made me sick, and so did the others that were talking this nonsense. Xandra, that's not true. Yes, Tarine came from Sarin's pack at Blue Lake, but her messed up worldview doesn't reflect the entire pack. Sarin made mistakes, Jasper made them too. They've atoned for their bad choices, and now they're stronger than ever. Fate brought you to their pack and, in return, that outcome brought us together. Xandra, I've been through hell and back because I thought the moon goddess made a mistake in giving me the wrong mate. Maybe she did, or maybe everything was supposed to happen that way. Tarine not only lied about our son, she killed Keaton's mother. A secret I'm sure she planned to take to her grave. But all of that came to light along with the fact that Killian was my son, not Keaton's. Tarine is my past, you are my present and future. That's if you want to be, I told her sincerely. She looked at me as tears welled up in her eyes. I don't know if I can be a good mate. I still don't understand any of this. I don't know how to be a Luna, she sobbed. I cuddled her into ah.ug and kissed the top of her head. Shh, don't cry baby. Everything is going to be okay. I don't know much about being an alpha, but that's what Richard is for. And I know for a fact that Sarin will help you. You showed a lot of potential when you shifted to protect what we have together. What we have, she echoed and lifted her head to look me in the eyes. Yes, our bond. I know you're still skeptical of all this, and I can't promise that our relationship will be perfect because it won't. But what I can promise is that I will do everything in my power to ensure that you and Alexa are protected, and I will spend the rest of my life loving you the way you should have been from the start. Love. Yes, Xandra. Love. I love you. I want you to be my mate and my future Luna. If I didn't, I would have rejected you. If I believed any of the bullshit that Lorelai or the other pack members say about Blue Lake, I wouldn't even bother being cordial with them, and neither would Richard. He is a prideful alpha, but he recognizes a good leader when he sees one, and he sees that in Jasper and Sarin. Besides, I can't hate Blue Lake. After all, they saved my son and got him back to me. Speaking of Killian, how does our bond affect him? It doesn't. If anything, Killian likes you already, and I know you like him. You don't have to be his mother. I won't expect that from you. But I do ask that you be his friend. Can you do that? For me. She bit the inside of her cheek while she considered my words. After another minute or so, she smiled and nodded her head. Yes, I can do that, she answered, and I couldn't suppress the butterflies that inevitably followed. I smiled and hugged her tight. Something told me to show her how much I appreciated her kindness and open heart. I pulled away and kissed her without warning. I felt her freeze, but she didn't pull away. After a few seconds, her hand slowly made its way to my PS and then around to my back as she relaxed. I deepened the kiss a little, and I could feel the sparks of our bond all over my body. I felt myself getting aroused and I knew I had to stop, but I couldn't. Only after I ran out of breath did I reluctantly pull away from her. I smiled and my eyes panned towards the clock to see how I was doing on time, only to realize I was already 5 minutes late for training. I got to go, baby. I ran into my closet to change into my workout clothes and stopped to give Xandra one more kiss before I headed off to train. I couldn't shake the feeling that this was already shaping up to be the best day of my life. Xandra's POV. The sound of the door slamming shut jolted me back and the reality of everything that just happened finally sank in. I was in Griffin's room, and he just kissed me. My first KSS. Well, technically, my first and second KSS. I touched my LPS, and Atlanta was a symphony of purrs from how wonderful it felt. His LPS were as soft as pillows. And he tasted so sweet, almost as sweet as he smells. I bit my bottom LP and smiled. I left his room and went back to the room I was sharing with Alexa. When I got there, however, I saw a few unfamiliar faces sneaking around. Are you sure it's this one? I heard one of them ask. Yeah, positive. I saw them go in here last night, the other one responded. Can you believe it? Brent, that good-for-nothing newborn, has Amadi, and she's a hot blonde, the first guy said. It's bad enough that he showed up out of nowhere and started to get ahead of all of us in training, then by some sheer dumb luck he randomly goes to Blue Lake with the alpha and comes back with a mate, a third person added. Why were these guys so mad about Brent having Alexa for a mate? Maybe we should go to Blue Lake next time. We can snag a mate of our own. I don't give a at what Lorelei says, Blue Lake has some hot she-wolves if that's where these two blondes came from. I mean, did you see the other one's wolf? When's the last time you saw a pure white wolf? The first asked. Damon, you better watch it. Look but don't touch. Shut it, Jordan. Brent doesn't deserve a mate as hot as this girl. Griffin, maybe, because he's cool and Goddess only knows the SHT he's been through. But Brent? That SHT. Now, get lost so I can bang her. Damon, Jordan is right. You heard what the Luna of Blue Lake said. Are you trying to get yourself killed? Oscar, you and Jordan are such PS. I'm going to this girl, and I'll make sure she doesn't tell a single soul. And neither will you. This man, it's your funeral. I watched as the two guys named Jordan and Oscar walked away, and the guy named Damon checked to see if the door was unlocked. Unfortunately, it was. I waited until the door closed behind him before I quickly ran to the other door to rush in and wake up Alexa. Alexa, wake up! I screamed and shook her conscious. What? Why? It's so early, she groaned and shoved me away. Something big is about to happen. I grabbed her arm and pulled her towards the door. What the hell? Shhh, I shushed her and pointed at the door Damon went in through. Alexa looked at me confused. I held my hand up and counted down from 5. As soon as I got to 1, the door flew open and the guy came flying out screaming murder. OSH, Alexa shouted and we both looked at him. His shirt was off and his pants unbuttoned, but the look on his face was one of sheer terror. We turned the other way and standing in the doorway was none other than Sarin. This guy went into the wrong room. Sarin was pissed. Her eyes were black, and her claws were out. At first I started to laugh at this guy for how stupid he was, but then Alexa grabbed my arm and tugged on it. What? I asked and turned to look at her when she didn't answer. Her face was pale, and she was looking at Sarin. Lex, what's I paused when I heard the sudden cracking sound. I turned around, and Sarin was in the middle of shifting. This wasn't funny anymore. Sarin's wolf was angry. OSH, Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description, rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.